Hi everyone, Bernard here on behalf of MovieGameNostalgia.com. A little bit of nostalgia from 1975 today. Our old friends, the Berwick Masterpiece series. We've done one or two of these games previously. There's a couple of other. There's a TSR Battle of Britain out as well, and other Battle of Britain's games. But this is the original one that I've seen. Great box, isn't it? Just look at that box, fantastic, isn't it? Up to 4 players. Only 2 to 4 players, 10 years and over. So really good, really good. Board Game Geek. Well, it's getting okay reviews. It gets 5.7 out of 10 on Board Game Geek overall. And there's 31 people have rated it. They've just sort of run through what the people did. I mean, 1 person gave it 3 out of 10. 5 people gave it 4 out of 10. 7 people gave it 5 out of 10. 12 people gave it 6 out of 10. So that's by far the most. 3 people gave it 7. 2 people gave it 8 out of 10. And 1 person gave it 9 out of 10. So, I mean, anything up to 6 is always not a bad game. And this is 5.7. So it comes very, very close to the 6 score. I mean, you can buy this online. I mean, there's never usually loads of copies available. It's always 3 or 4. Now I've got a copy here with a slight damage, which I'll show you, which doesn't ruin the game. You can still play the game with this damage. I noticed another one today when I was looking on various websites that one of the bombers, the other little bombers, I'll show you those, has been glued back together because it's broke. Because obviously, 45 years are bound to get broke, aren't they? But, they're not perfect. But, yeah, you can get this complete, with perhaps 1 or 2 slight imperfections, anywhere from between £15 and £20, depending on the time of year. So, obviously, if you look around, I don't think you'll find this at many second-hand shops, thrift shops, charity shops, etc. Because it's not a sort of thing that comes up very much. I mean, comments that I've seen on Board Game Geek about the game is from range to a bit fiddly, which is, I'll show you. Some guy said he can play Spitfires for real on his PS4. Yeah, well, that's not the point of board games, is it? I mean, most board games you can play on a computer, but the idea is board games to be with other people and enjoy it. Someone said a very simple game, which it is. It looks quite complicated, but if you look at the instructions, that's literally the instructions on the inside of the box. So just have a look at that. I mean, you may have this as a person on the internet who didn't have the instructions actually. So going on that, so you can always pause and have a go at the instructions there for you. A little bit of information for you. You can pause that if you haven't got the box cover, because you've got the box. You should have the instructions because they're on the lid. Someone else said tedious, changing altitudes on planes. And it is a little bit, again, part of the fiddly thing, but it's not tedious. It's all part of the game. You have to be at the right altitude for things to happen. If you're going to destroy enemy ships, etc. So anyway, I'll show you the board. I'll show you the thing. Fantastic board, isn't it? I mean, it's not, obviously it's supposed to be Britain there. If you look over there, there's the Isle of Wight. Is it the Isle of Wight? So that's the southern coast of Britain. Obviously, it's for the actual game. This obviously is not real to geographical geographical things. And as I said about the piece broken, that's literally the bottom of one of these stems that goes on there. So if you notice, this stem is a little bit lower than these, but it's the very bottom. So you can still use the game. And if there's only 3 players, obviously it doesn't matter because you only need 3 stems. So it's 2 to 4 players, obviously. You can play it on your own and see how many say bombers you can take out in a certain length of time. So it is a shame that little piece is broken on there, but that's not a big deal. We've got the nasty swastikas there. Look at that nasty swastikas. Some people frown about the swastikas. I mean, if you remember the game Escape from Colditz, it took the swastika out of from the boxes. But again, it's part of history to me. I don't know what you're going to do, not have films with swastikas because the swastikas offend people. I don't understand the logic of that. It's all part of history, isn't it? These are explosive markings. So when one of the bombers bombs one of these areas here, that's what goes on. There's your German bombers. So this is where you get the fiddly bit. So there's 5, and these slide up and down the stick there. See how they slide up? So that's the cruise. There's a little double notch there. That's the cruising height for the German bombers. And obviously, when you're in your Spitfire to take out a bomber, you do have to be obviously at the same cruising height to take the thing out. But this is what the guy was saying. It'll be a little bit fiddly, but if you've got younger children, you're going to have to play it with them, because I imagine younger children get really frustrated and start knocking things over, etc. So that's the basics of that. And this spinner is the actual movement of the for the German bombers. So this is the flight indicator to tell you where to go for the German bombers. There's no dice in this. You can play it with the dice, isn't it? You know, if you wanted to, just change the rules. So you throw a dice and you can move your Spitfires so many moves, etc. So that's an adaptation you can have it. But if I go through the basic game anyway, I'll tell you a little bit about it. All the German bombers move first. So there's no one plays the bombers. Anyone can move the bombers. Again, you could have a game where someone plays the bomber, I suppose. You could have up to 5 players, have someone playing the bombers, and see how many compete to see how many airfields, etc. you can bomb, stuff like that. But in theory, no, the German bombers are all labelled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're all on the various stats. Number 1, that's number 2, etc. So they're all on the starting basis, the German bombers. And what we do with the German bombers, 1 by 1, start with number 1 to number 5, so you don't lose track. They're all numbered. They have a little number on the base. Obviously, if you get one and it's fallen off, you can always stick it on, can't you, or write it on with a white indelible ink thing. Yeah, and they basically move. Let me show you on the box. It's easy to show how they move on the box. See the image there on the box of how the German bombers move. So that's that one there. So that's the attack. So they move like 2, either to the left, straight on, or to the right. Obviously, for the sake of this game, it's called on beam, starboard, and port. So that's how the actual bombers move there. So that's how. So 2 in any direction. So if you spin, so if we've got a minute, let's move number 3, just for the fact he's halfway into the thing. Spin your spinner. There you go. So that's port. So it's the same. So that means they'll move 2 either that way or that way. So they'll go that way. So obviously you can decide between yourselves which way it goes. And it's the same. So that means the height, it doesn't alter. If it'd been a +1 or a -1, it'd go up and down. Obviously up and down, up 1 or down 1. So that's a fiddly bit where perhaps you need older players to do it. So basically, that's how you move the bombers. They move in like zigzags, always 2 at a time, altering, going up and down. If you ever get to the bottom, then obviously you can't go any further down. When you can only ever climb up. So that's how it's done on that. So you don't have to worry about that. So the bombers can move all across, and obviously, if they ever get to this part of the board, the bomber, all they do, see the little arrows pointing backwards, they just turn around and go back again. If they get to the edge of the thing and end up having to move off, or there's no other way to go, and they have to move off, they will just automatically go back to the starting place. So that's what you do with the bombers. So that's the basic movement of the bombers. The Spitfires have a different way of moving. One go, obviously each player's got its own Spitfire, even though he's got a number of radars, airfields, and attack guns. Obviously, he's only got 1 plane to use, but you can use any of these airfields. You can even use other colours, but obviously that there's a thing on that. Obviously, when one of your goals is to take off, so the one is to take off at cruising altitude. So you don't have to grow. You don't have to take off and start and go up to your cruising altitude. You're automatically right, I'm taking off at your cruising altitude there. So you'd start off the board, and your first go, put him on the board, and that's your first go to take off from the airport. His next go, when he goes again, he can go two in any direction. So he can two forward, two across, 1 or like that. He can go 2. He can move up to 2 squares in one go. You can adjust height plus or minus 2, so you can go up or down 2, because that will count as his go. You can move 1 space and go up and down 1 or 2. Or you can decide not to move at all, which sounds a bit daft, but there are elements of it may be better not to actually take a move and say, no, I'm not going to move this go, and do that. Right, when in the air, this is where it gets a bit confused. This is where someone said about the little, there's a fuel gauge on these. If you see the little red thing, what you got as you take each go with the notch, line it up with the notches, you move your fuel gauge down. Now, you may want to manually do this. You've got up to 10 units of fuel. So rather than moving the gauge up and down, you may want to just write it on a pad. So you start with 10 gallons of fuel, or obviously it'll be more than that, but you call it gallons of fuel. And then just mark every turn you take, you lose a unit of fuel. And obviously, if you ever go to empty and you're not at an air base, there's a little empty mark there. If you ever get empty, obviously you're going to crash. And if you crash, that's it, you're out of the game. There's no second chances. I mean, again, to adjust the game for people, you could have 2 or 3 lives, where you've got younger players where they can have 2 or 3 lives. And again, you can just write that on a separate piece of paper so they can do that. The only way of getting a full tank of fuel is by landing on one of your own airfields. Those are the planes of the airfields. If you actually have to land on one of the other colours, you only get half a tank of fuel. So obviously the only way you get a full tank is by landing on one of your own. And of course, if say the player is out, if he runs out of fuel. Now, the whole idea of the game is to shoot down 5 bombers per person. The first player to shoot down 5 German bombers and so collect 5 swastikas is the winner. For a shorter game, the first player to shoot down 3 bombers is the winner. And the only way you can shoot down a bomber, for instance, he's there, say he's there, the bomber has to be going in the right direction as well. So obviously, if the bomber's going that way, the only way you can shoot down the bomber is actually position yourself directly behind and be at the same altitude. So if you're higher or lower, then obviously you're not going to shoot him down. So if you can shoot, you need to be 1 square behind. So if you shoot that bomber down, you give yourself a swastika. You need 5 of these to win the game. That bomber would then go back to base and start again. So the bombers never run out. Whatever happens to the bombers, whether they go off the board, top or the side, or they get shot down, they just go back and another bomber. And obviously you would be in his position then, and obviously decide what you're going to do, whether there's more bombers out to get, etc. But that's how you get your swastikas. That's how you win the game. For a short game, you can make it. You have to shoot down 3 German bombers as opposed to 5 German bombers. The bombers can, of course, do damage themselves. I mean, if you look at the thing, so they can damage and destroy a radar station. So this bomber, if he lands on one of these little radars, see the little image of the radars? If he lands on one of these radars, he obviously destroys it. So what you would do is put your little explosion on it there. So that becomes, and this is again another fiddly bit, but as I say, older players won't have any trouble do it, and that bomber then may move off over there in that direction. So you end up with some of these explosions on radar stations. You can obviously damage runways, blow them up, and of course you've got the ack guns, which obviously you can explode those, so you can take those ack guns out as well. Cover that up. So the bombers can do that as they're moving along. Obviously they have to move in the section. So this is where sometimes it might be an idea to have someone playing the bomber, so obviously it's all for one. There's no team. You can have a team, but you can cooperate, I suppose. But at the end of the day, it's the first one to get through, shoot down 3 German bombers wins. So it's an independent game, but you could vary it so it's more a team game. If a radio station if a radar gets hit, then obviously any plane, the yellow plane there, would immediately have to return to one of his airfields. So he'd have to go to base and then take off again the next go. So if one of his radar things is hit, that's what he has to do. Obviously, a bombed airfield becomes out of play, so you can't use it again. So if you've got an airfield, you won't be able to land there. If you get another airfield bomb there, you won't be able to land there either. And in theory, if you get all 3 airfields bombed, that's it. You're out of the game because you can't get your planes up in the air. So that's you out of the game if you get all your airfields bombed. So you have to be really, really, really careful. So obviously other players can't use those airfields as well because once it's covered up, you can't see them anyway to use them, can you? So that's probably right. If all the act guns are put out of action, so if all the guns are out of action, that means your airfields are not defended. So even if you had airfields, if all your ack guns are taken out, they cannot then be used, so they become obsolete. So any airfields that are still alive, once your ack guns are gone, someone can sort of easily be knocked out of the game, and obviously based on the throw of whether these are going left or right or forwards. So I mean, it's just pot luck, isn't it, as to a player could lose out. I mean, once a player loses out, he can perhaps take charge of the German bombers and something like that. No 2 planes can occupy the same square at the same altitude. So there's 2 of you end up on you can't do it. You would crash and end up having to go back to base. So obviously you can't. Sorry, you would crash. The Spitfires would crash, and you would end up being out of the game because you've actually crashed together. So no 2 players can occupy the same game space at the same altitude, otherwise they will crash. If a bomber moves through a space the same altitude, so the bomber's there, then you're next to him. Obviously you can't attack him because you have to be behind him, but if a bomber moves left by 2 and moves through your space, obviously he's at the same altitude. If he's at a different altitude, it's okay, but if he's at the same altitude as you, he's going to crash with you, and again, you'd be out of the game. And if a bomber lands on a space as a fighter, but with a different altitude, so this fighter's a little bit lower, so let's say the fighter's down there. So if he lands most to 2, all that means is he will be there and you can move your piece to any adjacent square you're fighting. So even though he's on the same square, because you're obviously at different altitudes, it doesn't matter. You don't know. It's obviously you don't lose the game. And that's how the game progresses. So you keep doing this game. The bombers keep fighting. Bombers try and knock everybody out. And if you end up obviously getting knocked out before you've got 3 bombers or you've got 5 bombers, depending which version of the game you get in. See how fiddly it is. It is quite fiddly, but say that's perhaps better for older players to play it. But once you've got it set up and it's all doing it, I mean, it's fairly simple. But yeah, you can do it as a team game. You can do it with dice. Instead, so you can throw a dice, so rather than moving 2, if you get a 5, you could say move 3 and go up or down 2. So you could vary it, make it a bit more fun, and perhaps make the games a little bit quicker as well. Because at the end of the day, the bombers, if they go in that direction, obviously they're flying in that direction. So obviously he's gone. The bomber would have to be going that way, like that. The only way you can take him out is to get behind him there. So you can't get him if you surround him any other way. You can't. The only way you can actually bring a bomber down is by getting up behind him. So obviously, as I say, it's a bit of strategy involved, and obviously, if you did it with dice, you've got more. So if you're there, for instance, and you've only got 2 options, obviously you're going to go 1, 2, aren't you? So you say you're going to move 1, 2, but then you've got to get up in the altitude as well. So it is a lot. It is strategic. So perhaps not for younger players. It's not for really young players. I would say probably 10, 11-year-olds. I wouldn't say any more than that. I mean, on the box, what do they actually say age-wise on the box? 10 years and over, yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, probably in this day and age, 9 at a pinch. And there's also on the board, so there's a quick reference to which way you move with the bombers. So if you're going that way, then obviously if you're coming back down with the bombers, where you've had to turn around, there's a little thing there to show you which way to move coming back down. then you come back down until you come to this end and you go back up again. So it's a good little game. I mean, it's as you say, it's a quirky game. For the fuel, as I said, you can write it down. You don't have to move these things around, which should move to, obviously, which is a bit of a nuisance. But and these two colours are quite similar. If you look at the planes, they're quite similar in colour. So it would have been nice to have been a bit different, more, perhaps a dark blue or something like that, because they are very similar. But you can just about make it out, even with bad eyesight like me. And I say, if you don't mind the swastikas, and obviously, if everyone's out of the game, if there's crashes and everyone's finished and no one's got the 3 German bombers or the 5 German bombers, whoever's got the most wins the game. Or obviously, if a couple of you got 2 or 3 and you've got the same, then you perhaps draw the game as well. So, yeah, that's from the Berwick Masterpiece series. Anyway, that's Battle of Britain. You just say it's a little bit fiddly. It is of its time, but it's good fun. Good fun. Would I play it with my lot? Well, I think I'd have a go with them. I mean, they'd probably have a whinge, but as I said, make sure all the stalks are in the things correctly. Make everything right. And say get a bit of paper for the fuel gauge, so you're not messing around with the fuel gauges and things like that. And perhaps bring an element of the dice into it as well to make it a bit more playable, a bit quick as well, because it could last a long time. I mean, the average game time is supposedly 45 minutes. I can't see that being that with having to bring down 5 German bombers. I mean, I would imagine that's if you have to bring down 3 German bombers. And it is, as I say, obviously, when you're moving the bombers, you can have goals at doing that yourself, or perhaps someone, as I said, perhaps you can have 5 players, have someone being the in charge of the German bombers. I can't really see it for more than 5. It's again, you could buy spares, and obviously you can buy these spares and actually have more people playing, but obviously you'd have to share airfields, etc. Anyway, that's Battle of Britain from the Berwick Masterpiece series. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you do get it or pick it up or fancy it, let me know in the comments how you got on. This is available on moviegamenostalgia.com, my website. And it's a game I have sold 1 or 2 of, and I keep getting back in stock. So, as I say, my copy at the moment does have a little broken stem, but hey, I've allowed for that in the price anyway on the website. So please have a look there, see what you think. If you enjoyed this, please push the old subscribe button, push the bell notifications when you know when these video reviews, information videos are coming out. And please follow me on Twitter at nostalgia_movie and on Facebook at Virgiline with links to moviegamenostalgia.com. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll watch another one of my board game information reviews, not reviews, information, etc. about them, just to whet your appetite. There's no videos of this game that I can see on YouTube at the moment. So if you did fancy buying this, at least that's give you some ideas to what you're going to get for your money, and whether you want a little bit of fiddly bits, some of you want to bugger about. It's worth it. I think it's worth a little bit of messing about. It is of its time, but hey, it's fun, isn't it? I mean, it's a great board game, great layout, great map, just a bit of fun. And obviously, as I said, 10 years and upwards, superb. Anyway, thanks for watching. What we're going to do with the rest of the day, have a great one. Look after yourself, look after your friends, and more importantly, look after the family. And I hopefully see you all again very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.